Hello. I'm Mr. Ed.
A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Go right to the source and ask the horse. He'll give you the answer that you endorse. He's always on a steady course. Talk to Mr. Ed.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. Broadcasting from one of the great strongholds of the fastener industry, just 25 minutes from fabulous O'Hare Airport if you hit it right, and from there, from our high-powered server cluster in Rantoul, Illinois, you're dialed into Internet Fastener Talk Radio at its finest. This is Eric Dudas, and I'm joined by the co-host of Fully Threaded Radio, fastener wonk and code jockey, Mr. Brian Musker.
Hi, everyone. And just in case you don't know where Rantoul, Illinois is, it's just next to Champaign-Urbana.
Oh, of course.
All right. One of the once Air Force bases, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess you and the lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey are getting ready to head down to the All-American Fastener Show in Branson pretty soon, huh?
Yeah, actually. Pretty soon is very, very early tomorrow morning. So we've got a long drive ahead of us. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it should be a great show, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. This is episode 25, and we'll be publishing to the Fully Threaded Radio site on May 12th, 2011. As it turns out, May 12th is set to be an infamous day in the history of the fastener industry, as we're expecting to see the assets of Heads and Threads International auctioned off. And we'll be talking about that in a little bit as well, as episode 25 unfolds. Hey folks, before I mention the lineup for today's show, I'll invite you to communicate with us anytime via email. And that's at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. Also, you can receive our Twitter posts on a variety of subjects, frequently fastener related, and that's under the Twitter handle Fully Threaded. We'd be glad to have you following us.
And sometimes those posts are not strictly fastener related, but you can also catch up with and keep up with us at our Facebook page, Fully Threaded Radio, and we post there the links and various things that we discuss on the podcasts. So we hope you find it interesting, and if you need to follow up on something that you hear in the podcast, you should be able to find it there.
Every word of that is true, my friend. Well, here's today's lineup. First, we'll hear a report from the site of this year's Mel Kirsner Memorial Golf Tournament, which was presented by the Pacific West Fastener Association. We'll talk to a member of the winning team, along with the illustrious and punctual John Gaudette. Mel Kirsner's son was also on hand for the roundup of this event. Then, American Fastener Journal publisher Mike McGuire joins us with his observations on the impact of the demise of Heads and Threads, and also his comments on the end of the Columbus show, which was another big piece of news to make headlines recently. On today's feature segment, we have an interview with the legendary fastener businessman, Mr. Ron Sackheim. As many of you know, Ron Sackheim is a third-generation fastener man, a co-founder of Excel Screw, and he's also a member of the founding family of Heads and Threads. During this discussion, Ron describes the origins of both companies, what led to the great success Heads eventually came to enjoy, and possible reasons for its downfall. This is an epic conversation with a true industry giant, and we were honored to have him with us. We hope you'll all enjoy it. And, as if all of that wasn't enough, we'll get things kicked off with the Fastener News Report, presented by Fastener Technology International Magazine editor Mike McNulty. So how's that for non-stick cookware, my friend?
Well, sounds like a great lineup, as usual, but you have to explain how it connects to the opening.
Ah, yes. Well, I was wondering if you might ask that. The stalking horse. It's a little bit convoluted, but I think in fully threaded form it makes perfect sense. You know, I first saw the story about heads and threads and the auction coming up on FastenerJournal.com on the Fastener News Now page. And there was a notice for the HTI auction coming up on May 12th, which is the day we're publishing. And they mentioned a stalking horse. There was a sentence in there that said, please be advised that the assignee has received an offer to purchase the assets, the, quote, stalking horse offer, right? So, yeah, I'd never heard of this term before. I mean, were you familiar with this?
No, I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, well, it's funny. You know, the way this stuff like this always happens, I've run into it 2 other times since that first time. But at that point, I gave the term stalking horse to my crack research team.
Okay, so you looked it up on Wikipedia.
Exactly.
Right.
And there's actually a fairly interesting array of definitions out there, and one of them does pertain to bankruptcy. And it's just one sentence. I'll read it here. In bankruptcy, a stalking horse bid is a first favorable bid solicited by the bankrupt company strategically to prevent lowball offers.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, and now I don't know whether or not that's exactly how that term is being used related to the head situation. That's just what Wikipedia says about this. It's possible that it means something else. Also in Wikipedia, there's a really great link to a YouTube video from the movie Jeremiah Johnson where it's explained too. So it's different things.
Okay. As always, we're expanding the minds of our own listeners.
That's right. Well, that's part of our mission here. Anyway, it just sort of makes sense, you know. Stalking horse, talking horse, you know?
No, not really.
Well, then there's the other tie-in, right? You've got Mr. Ed, and then I was thinking you could say Mr. Thread.
Ah, Mr. Thread, the stalking horse. It's a little clearer.
Yeah. That was too long to use the whole thing in the title, you know.
Okay.
But I think fully threaded listeners are sophisticated enough to get the insinuation.
Yes. Okay.
Thus the title for today's show.
Okay, right.
Now, we had another really big headline to hit the news in the fastener world recently, and that was the announcement of the end of the Columbus show. What do you think of that, Bri?
Yes, well, I know from what you told me last year, I wasn't there, but it's sort of been evident for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it kind of seems that way. Of course, we have Mike McGuire with us on this episode, and he's going to be commenting on that a little bit. But
right.
I found a story on the history page of Finn at Global Fastener News, and man, I just love that history page they have.
Right.
And this story was from November 21st, 1997, headline, Las Vegas show gamble pays off. Listen to this for foreshadowing. It starts off, the owners of the National Industrial Fastener Show and Conference, held annually in Columbus, Ohio, since 1981, gambled that a Western version of their show would be a winner in Las Vegas. At least for a first-time event, Jim Bannister and Mike McGuire believe they hit the jackpot. The National Industrial Fastener Show West, held November 14, 1997, drew more than 1,400 attendee registrations, according to the show management. And a quote, I had said all along that if we had 12 to 1,500 the first year, I would be delighted, Bannister told Finn. So the story goes on. The 1997 Columbus show reported 3,007 advanced on-site attendee registrations. So it really was quite a thriving concern at one point.
Right. I mean, that was nearly, it's about 3/4 the size of last year's Las Vegas show, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it was a going concern. And so here, they were talking about the Vegas show, the beginning of it, and then what the Columbus show was at the time. But then the article ends with the last sentence, however, after the show, several exhibitors were speculating that the Las Vegas event could exceed Columbus numbers within the next few years.
Wow. And that proved to be true.
Yep, that's what happened. And Mike McGuire actually mentions that too during the conversation. So,
okay.
Well, it had a good run, but kind of shattering news nonetheless, huh?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it represents a sort of a quiet shift of the fastener industry over to the West Coast more.
Well, that could be. Hey, getting back to the All-American Fastener Show in Branson for a second, I got an email from Heidi Voltrauer this morning, and she said that they've doubled the size of the show this year. So year 2, double.
Wow. That's cool. I can remember her sort of hoping that might be the case when we were interviewing her, actually.
Right. Also, Fastener Technology International magazine will be exhibiting down there, and the booth will be manned by Tom Hutchison this time.
And yours truly, Brian, will be there too, along with the lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey.
That's right. And, man, I hope you guys get some good impromptu recordings from people there, and we can put together a really good segment. I think Traveling Salesman's going to join us for FTR 26 as well, and he's going to give us a review of the last Columbus show, Branson, and then also the North Coast Social that's coming up. And so you guys will be down there, and what are you, driving down?
Yep, driving down and going to the... They'll get together on the evening before. I've marked out already all the different people, some of whom are our members and some could be, who I want to go and have a talk to and see. And I'm looking forward to it, actually. It'll be good fun.
Well, the shows always are.
But I gather that Mike McNulty won't be there.
No, he won't. Tom will be there at the booth, and I think Mike's off on assignment on those dates.
Oh.
But he's here now. And he's got the Fastener News Report. Why don't we play that right now?
Right.
Thanks, Eric, and greetings to all the fully threaded radio listeners out there. This is Mike McNulty with the Fastener News Report, brought to you by Fastener Technology International, your print and digital magazine for the whole fastener industry. Well, Eric, my opening storyline may be getting repetitive, but the Cleveland Indians are now tied for the top record in Major League Baseball, as they have equaled their best start in 100 years. People here are already talking about the Indians in the playoffs. But until that happens, I am still staying focused on the fastener industry. Our lead story today is the end of 2 fastener industry institutions, Heads and Threads and the Columbus Fastener Show. The Fastener News Now section of FastenerJournal.com has an official notice posted online regarding the upcoming auction of the assets of Heads and Threads International, also known as HTI. Patrick Kavanaugh, the HTI-appointed assignee and seller, is conducting the auction at the offices of Proskauer Rose LLP in Chicago on May 12th at 11 a.m. The sale includes HTI inventory, equipment, packaging, supplies, and other fixed assets, but it excludes cash, deposits, accounts receivable, and computer hardware and software. The twist to this auction is that Kavanaugh already has an offer in hand for $11.99 million, less inventory sold after the end of March. The so-called stalking horse offer will close in cash no later than May 17th, unless a better bid is received at the auction. To be considered, competing bids must be filed with $1 million deposit, the terms of the stalking horse deal must be matched, and the purchase price must be at least 4% higher than the stalking horse offer. The HTI assets are being sold as is, where is. After a 30-plus year run, the Columbus Fastener Show, also commonly known as the National Industrial Fastener Show East, or NIFS East, had its swan song last month. In a press release issued after the close of the exhibition, show management has decided to cease operation of the East Show and focus 100% of its energy, talent, time, and resources on its Las Vegas show, which is held annually in the fall. The poor turnout of visitors to the 2011 Columbus show, low exhibitor participation, and the wishes of loyal and longtime exhibitors led to this painful decision. The Columbus show peaked in the late 1990s with over 600 exhibitor booth spaces and thousands of attendees. In recent years, the East venue was moved from Ohio to Florida, Georgia, and Maryland, but the last few years in Columbus were especially difficult. The 2009 show was canceled because of the economic downturn, and the 2010 and 2011 expos featured less than 100 booths and attendance figures in the low 3 figures. Looking ahead to the fall, the 2011 Las Vegas show has a new name and new location. National Industrial Fastener and Mill Supply Expo at the Sands Expo Center, which is scheduled for October 19th through the 21st. Now let's move on to our Fastener Newsmaker highlights. Heidi Voltrauer-Skyver has been appointed to Chief Operating Officer of Volt Industrial Plastics in Arkansas. Heidi started at the plastic fastener maker in 1992, working her way up from the production floor to the COO office. Bob Reese has been named president of 3V Fastener Company in California. Reese succeeds Daryl Verdum, who is retiring after founding the company in 1982. 3V specializes in precision aerospace fastener products. Ohio Rod Products in Versailles, Indiana, has promoted Ryan Detmer to the position of Inside Sales Supervisor, and it has hired Michael Knowlton as Inside Sales Manager. Ohio Rod Products is a division of the Elgin Fastener Group, and it makes cold-headed and threaded long-length specialty fasteners. Precision Cast Parts is acquiring the assets of PB Fasteners, a California-based manufacturer of fastener products for airframe applications, including parts that are used to prevent lightning strikes on Boeing 787 aircrafts. PB will be Precision Cast Parts' 9th fastener manufacturing operation in Southern California. Tata Steel Europe has announced that it is investing about $2 million in equipment for its wire rod rolling mill in the UK. The goal is to boost production of the most technically demanding steels, especially cold-headed quality materials used for making fasteners for the automotive sector. If you're looking to enhance your collection of fastener books, then there are 2 new titles to consider. First, the 8th edition of the Inch Fastener Standards book, published by the Industrial Fasteners Institute, is now available to be ordered online at indfas.org. Second, Guy Avalon has published a book called Safety, How to Keep Things Tight. Write to Guy at guy.avellon@boltdoc.com. All right, next up is our Fastener Events on the Horizon report. The next few weeks present several event opportunities for fastener industry professionals. In addition to the All-American Fastener Show in Branson, Missouri this week, and the North Coast Fastener Association Distributor Social in Independence, Ohio next week, the Fastener Tech 11 show in Rosemont is just 1 month away. The National Fastener Distributors Association is the latest fastener association to announce its support of the Fastener Tech 11 show. NFDA is sponsoring the all-industry reception, and NFDA Executive Vice President Mark Lenhart says, "We believe that it is very important for the NFDA to support the broader fastener industry, and we are firmly committed to helping Fastener Tech 11 be a success again this year." In Rosemont, the NFDA will unveil a new colorful booth which communicates the association's strategic initiatives of business strategy, global perspectives, and industry insights. In addition to this reception, Fastener Tech also includes exhibits and seminars. Fully Threaded Radio listeners should know that early registration numbers show that your host, Eric Dudas, is currently in first place with nearly 36 people signed up to see his presentation on trends in social networking for fastener professionals. The price for Eric's talk is right. It's free, and registration is available online by clicking on the Fastener Tech logo at fastenertech.com. Finally, Eric, let's turn to the back page of this report where I present a personal interest story and some editorial comments. The subject this week is Detroit, the historical home of the U.S. automotive industry, as well as a magnet for fastener manufacturing and distribution. A couple months ago, numbers were released showing the population of Detroit has dropped 25% in the last decade to just over 710,000, a level not seen since 1910. This was the fastest decline in the city's history, and the public reaction of the mayor of Detroit was that it would seek a recount. In fact, the mayor was quoted as saying, "If we could go out and identify another 40,000 people that were missed, and it brings us over the threshold of 750,000, that would make a difference from what we can get from the federal and state government." Wow. Talk about watering your garden as your house burns to the ground behind you. Detroit is a once great American city that used to attract and encourage entrepreneurs and investors, but has spent the last several decades doing its best to repel talent, ambition, and money. Detroit's problems have nothing to do with census workers, natural disasters, the weather, or a lack of tax revenue. The Motor City's problems are man-made, and they are driven mostly by greed, arrogance, and laziness, from a long list of sources including unions, automotive executives, criminals, bankers, educators, and politicians. In the 1950s, Detroit peaked with a population of 2 million. William McGuire of the Wall Street Journal points to government expansion as providing some of the fuel for the city's downfall. In the 1960s, Detroit was labeled as one of the country's model cities and it started getting a stream of millions of dollars in federal tax money intended to transform a 9-square-mile section of the city. The end result of this effort was an area that ended up as one of the most blighted urban landscapes in the country. At the same time, in the years to follow, the local government of Detroit continued to grow as basic services like police, fire protection, road maintenance, and education continued to decline. Flight from the city was on, and it will continue until the culture of Detroit changes. Government aid did not make Detroit great, and it isn't the answer to save it now. Can the city come back? Of course it can, but it will take more than clever advertisements like the recent ones from Chrysler that feature the rap singer Eminem. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Visit FastenerTech.com to learn more about the fastener industry and send your news, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at McNulty@FastenerTech.com.
It's fully threaded. Stick around.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pell from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be.
This is Josh Glazer with Glazer & Associates, GlazerBolt.com, your full-line online source for fasteners. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
We're recording this segment on May 6th, the date of the second annual Mel Kirsner Memorial Golf Tournament, which has just wrapped up. This event was hosted by the Pacific West Fastener Association, and we're on the phone now with John Gaudette, and also we'll have Craig Kirsner, son of the tournament namesake, Mel Kirsner, joining us in a second. We've also got another guest with us. He's going to be named in a moment. All of these gentlemen are speaking to us from the Westbridge Golf Club in La Habra, California. Welcome, guys. John, you were with us last episode, and of course you're the Pac West official on the call at the moment. Fully threaded listeners are dying to know, were you successful in knocking off last year's winner, Team Porteous?
Yes, Team Porteous has suffered a dramatic defeat, and they were taken over by Team Cal Fasteners, or Team Truckee, and which also included Bob Reynolds from Unsequel. And we had Joe Truckee and Joe Truckee Jr. and Bob Truckee, and we knocked them off. So it was a great day. All are happy.
Well, that was something that you had almost foreshadowed during the last conversation. Of course, you're saying we knocked them off. We won't read too much into that. The other gentleman on the phone with us here is Joe Truckee Jr. Hi, Joe. Thanks for coming on with us.
Hi, yeah, thank you.
How were the course conditions today? What were the highlights for you guys?
Me, my dad, and my uncle, Bob Truckee, we're pretty big hitters, so we basically just tried to go for all the par fives. We had a couple eagles in there. The greens were actually pretty slow, and they would bite it pretty good, so we were just knocking them close and making a lot of birdies. We started off pretty weak, actually. We played 7 holes, and we were only 4 under, and then we came back and just kept making one birdie after another. So it was pretty fun.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Now, was Mr. Reynolds able to keep up with you, or were you carrying his water for him on this occasion?
Mr. He made a lot of good putts for us. He had a broken foot, actually, he was trying to recover from. But all he would do is just drain a 20-footer, 30-footer here and there, and that's all that we needed from him. So it was fun.
Well, if you've got a guy with a short game going on, that's always a big thing. I know you guys are the big guns out there, too. So it sounds like it was a great team, and that's what it took. Again, what was the score for the win today?
We shot 59.
No, it's 60. We got 60.
Oh, was it 60? Okay. It's 60.
Outstanding. John Gaudette, what were the other standings?
So we have, in third place, we had WCL and Ababa QA, and second place had Stork Material Testing and CNC Fasteners. So it was a good turnout, good crowd.
How many teams were in the event today, John?
We had 13 teams.
Now, there was also a contest going on, and I think everybody was pretty impressed. There was a car up for grabs on the hole-in-one tournament. That was being offered by ND Industries, and that was in honor of the late Hugh Martin. Did anyone pick up the car prize?
Nobody. Unfortunately, nobody's driving a new car home today.
Well, hopefully they're going to roll that one over for next year. I guess we'll have to see about that one, huh?
Yeah, we'll talk to Tim about that for next year, and hopefully he can come through for us again.
Well, Joe Jr., this was an event that your team had sat out last year. What do you see going down the road? Are you going to be able to defend next year?
Next year, I personally, I'm going to be going into the U.S. Navy. But, yeah, I think my dad and uncle could probably follow it up. I mean, they're great golfers, so. And then my cousin, Matt Truckee, he hits the ball just as far as me, so I see no reason why he probably wouldn't be playing.
It's in the water over there at Cal Fasteners. Well, good luck to you in the Navy, and thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And Craig Kirsner, you were in today's event also, and how did you play?
Hey, well, we played pretty good for not playing too much golf. I think we were one over.
You had a great time, I'm sure. Now, this was a scholarship event, and all the proceeds were going to the Mel Kirsner Memorial Scholarship Fund, and, of course, that's a very worthy cause. What can you tell us about the scholarship fund?
Well, they started the tournament last year, named after my dad, Mel Kirsner, and I think they said they raised about $3,000 this year, and it's to bring some kids up in the fastener industry to help them learn about the fastener business and hopefully run some businesses when they grow up.
Absolutely. And as I understand, they met or exceeded last year with this year's event, and again, it's a very worthy cause. Hey, we heard some things about the museum that was tragically destroyed. Any movement on that front?
Well, Mel's wife, Judy, is still has a lot of memorabilia that Mel had collected, and has it up there in the Julian home where the museum was. She hasn't put the museum back together yet, but she's still working on it, and if there's still little nits and bits that people have, she's probably be glad to hear from them.
Well, Mel was very well known for the museum as well as many other things, and this is a great event in honor of him. I'm sure everybody out there is really glad that you were able to participate.
Yeah, it was a good day. It had a really good turnout. People had fun, I think, today, and it was for a great cause, and hopefully we can do a bigger and better one next year.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on everything, and also on your game today.
I'll work on that.
What kind of activities are going on now to wrap everything up?
I think everybody's kind of winding down. They had a full day on the course. It's a little warm out here, so I'm sure they're headed home, and they had a little drawing and raffle, and everybody's taking all their goodies and probably headed home for the weekend.
Yeah, the beauty of a Friday tournament is you get to rest up over the weekend. Now, John, what went into sponsoring today's event?
We really want to take time to thank the sponsors, and I'd like to rattle them all up. I don't have the list in front of me, but the sponsorship is really where the money comes from the tournament. For the scholarship, all that money, all those proceeds go to the Scholarship Foundation. So everybody who sponsored the tournament, everybody who came out, I want to thank them very much for supporting it and helping keep Mel's name alive out here in the West Coast.
Well, you guys do a great job, and speaking of that, Vicki Lester maintains the Pacific West Fastener Association website, and that's at www.pac-west.org. And I'm sure that photos of this event will be online very soon, knowing Vicki. And everybody get out there and take a look at what's going on and get ready for next year, because you got some big guns to try and beat next year, right?
Yeah, you got to try to knock the truckies off next year. And Eric, can I just say one thing real quick? I just want to say that the recipients for this year's scholarship for the Pac West will be announced at our June 28th dinner meeting in La Mirada. So anybody who's in the area which also show support for our scholarship foundation, come on in and come to the dinner and meet the recipients for this year's scholarships.
Absolutely. Thanks for pointing that out. And again, details on that are going to be on the Pac West website. Gentlemen, thanks once again for joining us.
Thank you.
We're joined now by American Fastener Journal publisher, Mike McGuire. Mike, thanks for joining us again.
Good morning.
Hey, there are two huge stories at the top of the fastener industry headlines. Let's begin with the situation over at Heads and Threads. I should point out that this episode of Fully Threaded is being published on May 12th, and according to the announcement on Fastener News Now, that's the same day an auction is set to be held for all of HTI assets. Say, Mike, you've got a long history with Heads, and there's still much that we can only speculate about at this moment, but it's clear that Heads is going away. How do you see this impacting the industry?
I think it's going to impact it for quite a while, for many reasons. I mean, you've taken, say, 20% or 1/5 of the stocking importers in the country away, so we're down to 4, but only 2 on the West Coast. So that may have a bigger effect with distributors, let's say, from Denver west kind of thing, because you only have two importers servicing that market. And at the pricing, I think a lot of stuff has been sold off by Heads in the last, say, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. What's left of the inventory that will be sold at auction is probably not the popular sizes. And then with the problems, I'm going to say, in the world, the demand for steel is tremendous. For China, just to supply the internal demand, it's very stressful for them. And of course, with the rebuilding of Japan, which will take a decade or better, the demand for steel will be tremendous there. I mean, I've heard there's, like in China alone, there's 300,000 that want to buy a car. So steel is going to go up, which obviously affects the price of fasteners. The iron ore that China uses mostly comes from Brazil and Australia, and their prices they've already raised those prices. So I think people can plan it for sure that the demand for steel fasteners, price-wise, is going to go up. And other things, I mean, our dollar continues to weaken. Gas prices going up, so freight costs will go up. I understand the steamers now coming across the Pacific are actually coming at a slower rate. They're adding an additional 2 days, again, to save cost. So a lot of things are going to affect the price of fasteners. We were talking last week, we wonder, will there be some new shortages? Like I think it was last summer, there was a shortage of like 3/8 hex nuts.
Right.
Could something like that happen again in this country in the near future? Because the importers that are left, have they bought enough, to fill the pipeline? So there's going to be some problems, I think, in the next several months, and maybe it'll exceed another year or two.
Well, we were talking earlier about some of your thoughts on all this, and you suggested that importers need to look carefully at the way they approach the market. Can you expand on that idea a little bit?
Well, basically the importer, I mean, they bring in inventory, put it on the shelf, and wait for the distributor to call to place the order. I think they've got to rethink maybe their sales and marketing methods and get to know the distributor better and improve the communications. And if a distributor has a major account and needs to, bring in large quantities or have backup stock, get the importer involved in it. Trust the importer. I'm not sure the word trust is there today in a lot of cases. I think that the big distributor gets a big order, and then he'll quote all 4 importers that are left, and then the low guy will get it. But what happens if a production line increases or decreases or there's an inventory problem or something? I think you need to have better relationships with the importer. And I think all 4 of the importers that are left are going to have to improve their marketing, their salesmanship with the distributors.
That sounds like good advice.
Well, if they don't change the model, another one of these possibly could go down in the same path that Head and Threads went down. And then we'd have a real mess.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we got 4 importers now. The demand, if our economy continues to grow, as people say it is, the demand could cause some real problems in the pipeline for a while.
Well, let's now turn to the news that after 30 years, the NIFS East Show, otherwise known as the Columbus Show, is being discontinued. It'd be hard to overstate how important this show has been to the industry. And as most people know, you and Jim Bannister own and operate NIFS East and West. And what went into this decision, Mike?
We've actually known for years, or thought for years, that when we started Las Vegas, we sort of sabotaged ourselves in Columbus, Ohio. There's no way you can compare Columbus to Las Vegas. But we had long-term commitments and contracts in Columbus and the East. And for a while, Eastern United States supported a show in the spring. Baltimore, for example, was very successful. And we actually thought about going back there. But a lot of exhibitors have come to us and said they only want the one national show every year in Las Vegas. And again, the economy and the times have changed in the last 3 years. I mean, if we hadn't had this recession, Columbus may have been double or 2.5 or 3 times the size it was this year. And still, there could have been a demand for a show. Doesn't say that someday we don't come back and have a second show in the spring. But for right now, we're putting all our efforts into Las Vegas.
Right, and it's apparent that others are following that same thought line. One of the indicators on that is the recent announcement by the NFDA that they're moving out there. And there's also been some talk in the mix about the NFDA becoming involved in a national show of some kind. Have you heard much about this? What's all that about from your standpoint?
Well, sure. They're just going to have their fall meeting in conjunction with the NFDA, with our show. They're going to just come out a few days early. We have offered for years to all the associations space if they want to have a booth to promote their association. In the past, we've worked with the NFDA. When we were in Atlanta, the Southeast organization worked with us. When we're in Baltimore, the Mid-Atlantic group helped us and supported us. Of course, we've had an ongoing working relationship with Pac West for several years and work closely and try to support their Fastener Training Institute. So what NFDA is saying is really nothing new. We're going to do an opening seminar about the state of the fastener industry in the United States. We're going to have a panel discussion, which hopefully will be extremely worthwhile for people to come and to listen to and ask questions.
What date's that going to be on, Mike?
That'll be on Tuesday, I believe it is. I'd have to check my calendar. The day before the show, during the setup day, the day we do all the seminars. And Pac West, again, is doing a fastener training seminar program. And I think NFDA, their plan, I think, is to have a meeting a day or two before.
Right. They're slated for the 18th and the 19th.
Yeah. We've added a golf outing again this year. Actually, next year, we're already in discussions and doing a sporting clay tournament for people that might shoot shotguns or shoot sporting clays.
Hey, there's a twist.
Yeah. So it's just a new little feature, additional, say, entertainment.
Now, for guys like Rob Lucas, you might want to consider adding spear chucking in there too.
Yeah, I heard about that. So we're just, like I say, putting 100% of our efforts into Vegas. We want to increase and improve the seminars, which we think is a very important part of the whole experience of coming to Vegas, not just coming to the trade show itself.
Well, it's shaping up to be a pretty good show this year. I think a lot of people have reacted positively to the move from November up into October, and also the change of venue. I think that's kind of freshening things up a little bit too.
Yeah, all that will help. I think what a lot of people don't realize is when we go to Vegas to negotiate a contract, many times we're limited in the number of dates we can have and where we can have it. I mean, we had, of course, the last 3 years at Mandalay Bay, and then the opportunity for the Sands opened up, so we're there for 3 years. So, I mean, we're the biggest show in our industry, but in Las Vegas, we're not near the biggest show. So it's getting the right space, the right dates is not as easy as I think a lot of people think it is.
Right.
It's not like just calling up and making a hotel reservation.
Well, congratulations to you and your partner Jim Bannister on an impressive run with the Columbus show. People need to realize there just aren't that many industrial shows that run for that long, so hats off to both of you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
And thanks also for joining us again, Mike. It's always great to have you.
Okay. Well, good luck and continued success with your podcast. It's been very helpful to the industry.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Take care.
Former Excel screw boss Ron Sackheim joins us next. Don't miss it. It's Fully Threaded.
Fastener Tech 11 is the all-fastener industry event in the heart of the fastener industry. This is Nancy Rich, Executive Director of the Midwest Fastener Association, and on behalf of the Midwest Fastener Association and Fastener Technology International Magazine, I'd like to invite you to Rosemont, Illinois, June 13th through the 15th, to attend Fastener Tech 11. This year marks the 30th fastener show the Midwest Fastener Association has produced. This year's Fastener Tech features seminars, meetings, and activities, including the premier trade exhibition in the Midwest. This event will also include the all-industry reception, which is open to all exhibitors and attendees. Also this year, Fastener Tech will take place alongside Surfin', the annual trade show of the National Association for Surface Finishing, which offers free admission to Fastener Tech attendees. For details and registration information, please visit www.mwfa.net or www.fastenertech.com. If you attend only one industry event this year, make it Fastener Tech 11 in the heart of the fastener industry.
This is Tom Buddenbone. I am the membership chair for the NFDA and the partner in Technology Components Southwest. I'd like to invite you to consider membership in the NFDA. Some of the benefits to membership include tremendous industry networking, business education via the Institute for Trend Research, economic insights with the quarterly trend reports from a service that's provided to us, global perspective when buying and selling all over the world, tremendous benefit in information sources from Asia and Europe. Gives you an opportunity to strengthen your relationship with other members, both suppliers and distributors. We offer an annual meeting that has ESPS session, which are a series of 30-minute scheduled meetings with existing companies you do business with, and more importantly, with companies that you don't do business with and want to learn a little more about. Our goal is to gain new members, both distributors and associates or manufacturers and large importers. And we also want to invite back those that have dropped out of NFDA in the past due to some of the economic issues of the past couple of years. It's a great association with great members. Please take a peek at www.nfda-fastener.org, or you can call the office for NFDA at area code 312-673-4900. Thank you again, Tom Buddenbone with Technology Components and the NFDA.
This is James T. Willis Jr. at Viking Bolt Incorporated, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
We're honored that our next guest could join us today. He's a member of a family with very deep roots in the fastener industry. His father founded Heads and Threads, and he finished his career as CEO of Excel Screw. Ron Sackheim, welcome to Fully Threaded Radio.
Thank you very much for having me on today.
That's our pleasure.
The history actually goes back deeper than you just said. My grandfather manufactured screws, nuts, and bolts in Chicago, North Side, in the late 1930s through beyond World War II. In World War II, they were making fasteners for the military, and if you in World War II, if you worked for a defense-related industry, you were not drafted. And there were many accountants, lawyers who knew nothing about how to manufacture screws or run a machine, but they learned quickly, so they would not be drafted.
the little-known fastener deferment.
Right.
Oh.
Right,
You didn't have to go to Canada. You just got involved in making fasteners.
Well, how many generations does that make it then, Ron?
I'm the third. And what's also unique in our family is that each generation had their own company. Now, let me explain that and a little further. As I said before, my grandfather was a manufacturer, and his company was called Stronghold Screw. He died in 1966, and he was in the business till the day he died. Anyway, my father worked for him after graduating University of Chicago, probably around 1935, 36, 37, in that area. At that time, my father graduated instead of 4 years into about 2 1/3 years, because you did not have to attend class at USC. The professors gave you a syllabus, said read the books, and his final exam would be based on what's in the books, not on my lectures. so you could, if you were a prolific reader, then and a good memory, then that was a lot easier than having to go to class all the time. And of course, it's a lot cheaper to graduate with paying for 2 1/3 years rather than 4 years.
Right, might as well start a fastener company at that point, right?
Right. So he joined my grandfather, his father, and continued through World War II, and then in 1953, he sat down with my grandfather and said, I have an idea which I think is make us more successful than we are now, that being a machine can theoretically run 24 hours a day subject to not any breakdowns or setting up for the next orders. And let's take that machinery and run high profit items, and let's import the common garden variety screws, nuts, and bolts. Many, many discussions, and basically my grandfather's position was nobody overseas can make the U.S. quality standards. Again, this was 1953, 8 years after World War II. My dad said, I disagree. I'm out of here. I'm going to start importing screws, nuts, and bolts. And he pioneered the whole concept of imported fasteners in 1953.
From where, Ron?
Good question. He started first with European countries. He was buying from Italy, France, Germany, Sweden, and in fact, he was so impressed. His company in Sweden was making bolts and nuts for Volvo, and they were actually X-raying these bolts one at a time to make sure that there was no problems with them. But then, I don't know the exact year, but I would say about 1957, the source of supply shifted to Japan, where it was the major supplier to the United States for about 35 years. So my dad started Heads and Threads, and my dad was big that a company's name tell the world what you do, the same way that you do with the name of your company. If it's Smith Enterprises, you know who's Smith and what does Smith Enterprises do.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so Heads and Threads, obviously, that was the whole idea, and we sell screws, nuts, and bolts. I worked summer jobs in high school and college at Heads and Threads. At that time, they wound up getting a big IBM computer, and everybody's heard the stories of what filled up a master, one large room you can use on could be done on a PC. But we were the ones that starting early to have computerization. And I remember you guys may not even know about it, like index cards you used to have to pile up. And also you used to hand wire the boards that would tell the computer what to do.
That's fairly early on, right? Early 60s.
Very, very early.
Right.
And I remember that I think, wired a board wrong. I did something wrong. And they were starting to run the program. They thought that I had done correctly, and everything kind of became a big mess for that day.
So you were using old punch cards then for that?
Right.
Actually, you're a pioneer in more than one way, because you're kind of one of the first guys to screw up inventory using a computer.
That's right. Yeah. That is true. And there's one company that used to call them up and say, "Hey, I want to order, A, B, and C." And the guy says, "Let me check my computer sheet." And he says, "It looks okay. Now let me call the warehouse to see if they're really there." And anyway, so from 1953 to 1960, Heads and Threads kept growing and adding locations.
Where was the headquarters, Ron?
Headquarters were in Chicago, north side of Chicago. And then in 1960, a New York Stock Exchange company called Minneapolis and St. Louis Railroad sold all their railroad assets to Chicago Northwestern. That created, for the book value of the company was $50 million, but they sold it for $25 million. So they had this huge tax loss of $25 million to use up. You had to use it up quickly. And so they were looking for very profitable companies to buy. Minneapolis Railroad, who also changed their name to the initials MSL. So my dad was approached by MSL Industries. He sold Heads and Threads to MSL Industries, became vice chairman of the board of MSL and president of the Heads and Threads division. So that's 1960. And 1963, 3 years after he had sold the company, he found out that the master plan of MSL's top management was, I should go back. My father brought other very profitable fastener companies into the mix at MSL and helped to use up this huge tax loss. In 1963, my father found out that top management's plan was to buy profitable companies, give the owners of the companies a 5-year contract, and then do not give them a new contract after 5 years, and use middle management, move them up to top management, and hope the companies continue to be successful. Well, that doesn't work, because the reason the companies are successful is because some man or a group of people, man or women, have a dream or an idea of what makes them successful.
Right.
I don't mean that middle management can never move up, but you wouldn't want to have any company you mentioned, whether it's a hot dog stand or a General Motors, you want to have people there with knowledge and and able to handle major problems. So my dad then left Heads and Threads / MSL Industries and had a 5-year non-compete clause. And then in 1968, my dad and I together started XL Screw, letter X, letter L. Everybody always used to say in our early days, oh, that stands for extra large, and ha 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 ha, extra large screw, and that was not the, it was for excellence. In 1972, 4 years after we found the company, my father was on a business trip, started in Europe, and then there were a few European sources left. And then he went on to Japan. About 2 weeks before he was supposed to leave for Europe, he read an article that Japan Airlines had a flight from Copenhagen, Denmark, to Tokyo, which was going to go over Siberia, and that would save about a couple hours over the route when Siberia was closed by the Russians for flyovers to go up to the North Pole and then come back down to Japan on the other side of the globe. So saving time, my father was an efficiency expert, and so he had the travel agent switch into the shorter flight. The flight took off from Copenhagen and landed in Moscow for refueling as scheduled, and then tragedy struck 30 seconds on takeoff from the Moscow airport. It was a Japan Airlines flight, and the co-pilot made a grievous error. Instead of, you pull the flaps in so you don't put any drag on the plane, but he pulled them on takeoff, but he pulled them out, pulled the flaps out on takeoff, which caused within 30 seconds the engines caught fire, and the plane pancaked into the tarmac of Moscow airport.
Oh.
And this is not a time for going through all the stuff dealing with State Department and the Russian government, but the Russians really wanted to dig a big hole and push all the bodies in. There were actually about 10 survivors out of 63 passenger and crew. Unfortunately, my dad was not one of them.
What a tragedy.
Terrible. So I became president of XL Screw at that point, and continued the company to grow, and still today. This is my father a lot, and wish he could see the financial statement compared to maybe in 1 hour today we do what maybe we were doing in a week or something like that.
Yeah.
And so as XL grew, we started in Wheeling, built a building, and then about 7 years ago, we built a very nice, very modern building in Lincolnshire.
Yes, we've been there.
Yeah, we went, Eric and I both went there for an open day. It's
very impressive, and I will give my former partner, Bob Sachs, who's now running, bought me out for, and is running XL Screw. We were together for about 35 years as partners. That was Bob's project, and he did a tremendous job in building and designing the building. And you've seen it. And we realized that you pay rent on square feet, not on cubic feet. So why not go higher?
Right.
The air is there, and so we said that most buildings at the time traditionally were 20 feet clear for stacking, and we went up to 30 feet clear. And I don't remember the numbers now, but there was significant dollars amount. More inventory could be put in the same square footage that we had before.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole concept was one of the reasons that XL has grown and been successful over the years. And they, obviously the whole industry goes with the economy. Sometimes the economy sneezes and the fastener industry gets pneumonia. Yeah.
Like 2 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like 2 years ago when people would say, the last one to leave our factory, turn off all the lights and all the power. And so I ran the company from 72 onward until about 2007. I sold the company to Bob Sachs, and I retired shortly after that, and I've been enjoying life without the fasteners, but I really had many friends in the industry, and I still have a few good contacts, and there are some of the employees that I had hired at XL Screw are still there, and it's nice to see all of them, and I miss the ones that I was close to, and customers overall were not better than pretty good. They were very nice, and I miss the camaraderie that I used to have with customers, and I was in sales, and I enjoyed talking to customers and joking around with them, and I did have a philosophy that you're as good as you are from your last order. So if your last order, you had 10 years of success with the customer, that hurts you. It takes you years to build up positive goodwill, and in 30 seconds you can lose it all.
Right. What have you done for me lately?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
well, now somewhere in all that, also you managed to serve as president of the Midwest Fastener Association too, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah, I did. I was on the board, and that's got to be in the 1980s, I believe. When I was president, we just scratched the surface of getting a fastener show started, which Nancy Rich has expanded tremendously. But I'm happy to be saying that, when I was on the board and president, the concept was started.
Right.
Okay, that's cool.
Well, let's change the subject back to heads for a little bit here, because obviously it's huge in the news right now, and this episode of Fully Threaded is going to be published on the 12th of May, and that's the announced date of the auction for all of their assets. We talk to people in the industry around the phones constantly with Fasteners Clearinghouse, and everybody, it seems, has done business with heads. Everybody's shocked and so forth. What went into making Heads and Threads such an amazing success, in your opinion?
Two things. One was they were constantly making their inventory very broad, and just as important, they opened up 7, 8, 9 locations. No, it's more than that. I think it was 12 at some point. Which means that they could capture markets anywhere in the continental states. Right now, if you're a Chicago importer, let's say like XL, and XL does not have a West Coast warehouse, then it's hard to get business on the West Coast. But the Heads grew, finding more locations and carrying more and more items. Heads was the 800-pound gorilla in the industry, obviously, because they were basically the only one initially, and then other people did get. There were many other companies. I was writing down names, and I came up with at least 12 importers in the Chicago area that are not around anymore.
Wow!
And the whole industry has consolidated, which is typical of many other industries. But it was not that Heads was not loved by the distributor, because there was, hardly ever would anybody ever come in and say thank you for an order, or how about us having lunch, or this all wasn't allowed by Heads, and you had to work, and they got bigger. Then there was merger of other importers who became just as big as Heads, and Heads that we are the best, and arrogant attitude started to hurt them very badly, and other people would say I'd rather buy from, Reynolds was big also, and Porteous, and World Fastener, who's no longer around, and the import, everybody was taking parts of Heads and Threads business away. But Heads did continue their policy of we're the best, and they could not say they're the biggest, because they were at one time, but at the time while the other importers were growing quickly, Heads did not have the same type of growth, because they were already at a very high level. Heads has been bounced around by different conglomerates or investment firms owning them, and the people in Connecticut that own them now, I don't know one person there, but I don't think they really understood fastener industry, or they didn't study it very hard when they bought Heads and Threads.
Well, would it be fair to say that a part of it, in your estimation, is a cultural thing? I mean, is that one of the things that contributed to the downfall?
That would be one thing, and but their margins were being squeezed. When you had the overhead of let's say 12 locations, they don't have that anymore. But each location was a stocking warehouse. Not as large as Chicago was their primary location, but there were warehouses in Cleveland, Detroit, Atlanta, Miami, Dallas, L.A., San Francisco. You go on and on. And again, Heads was just pushing to get profits, but in the very, very early age, told manufacturers if they wanted to keep Heads in their business, they will not sell to Sackheim. And most of the Japanese manufacturers told Heads, we can sell to whoever we want to sell to, and you can't dictate who our customers can or cannot be.
Wow.
And so, but there were some suppliers that listened to Heads' edict and, would not accept their orders, but so we found other people. And as the years went on, from Europe to 35 years with Japan dominating the import market, Taiwan came on next, and then China. Right now, I would estimate that, and this is just a rough estimate, that let's say about 90% is from China and Taiwan, and that would be split to around 45% each. And the other 10% is from a few other small countries, Thailand or Korea. And right now, China has some huge, huge factories. I visited China in 1979 as a guest of the Chinese government, and at that point, people were craning their necks outside of buses looking at my wife and I walking down the main street. They had not seen a Western woman, especially a woman with makeup and colored clothes instead of color coordinated clothes instead of the Mao jackets, which both at 79, both the men and the women wore.
Okay.
And on that trip, we visited the city was called Guangzhou. It used to be called Canton. There was a world fair of all the products China had to sell, and that's the show that we were at looking for suppliers. Anyway, so one day we took a trip to the zoo in Guangzhou because we wanted to see the panda bears. And we went there, and there's a big pit in the ground, and people are around the railing in a huge circle, and there's bamboo, and there's the panda bears, which you don't get to. Now many zoos have in the United States. At that point, we had never seen a panda bear live, and the high school, not high school, grammar school kids were staring at. There was a group of us. I don't remember exactly how many, 20 people on the tour. We felt we should have been in the pit because they were more interested in us than they were in the panda bears. Anyway, the interesting thing in China is that you have a communist government and a capitalistic economy, and somehow that works. You also have the rules have changed greatly. Initially, let's say in 1979, the Chinese would only allow a foreigner to buy 50% interest in a Chinese company. Now the rules changed, and you can own 100% of a company you build in China, and now profit is an incentive. The old rules, if you made a profit, you'd send the money to the province you were located in. Also, the Chinese government, the old rules were told let's say, Brian, that you're supposed to hire 100 workers, and you get in the sales system. Say, but, Mr. Chinese Communist Party member, I only need 50 to run my machines. So we don't care. We want you to have 100 because we don't want unemployment in our country, and we don't care if your company makes or loses money. The Chinese learned that capitalism was so much better, and they allowed the management of the companies that the government owned to buy them and offered financing so they could buy the factory from the Chinese government. So you have thousands of companies. Not just Postal Nuts, anybody where they're all privately owned, and if they make money, they keep it. If they lose money, then they have problems, like anybody else in the world that goes on a capitalistic system.
And 22 years later, or 32 years later, a world of Walmart.
That's true. Walmart claims that they have a lot of stuff made in the USA, and I'm always a little bit scant. I'm not sure if that's really correct. If it is, fine.
Well, we make lots of monopoly money in this country.
Yes, we do.
Right. Yeah.
Well, hey, Ron, Getting back to heads here in the soon-to-be aftermath of the situation that's unfolding, looking into your wisdom of over the years, what can you say might happen as a result of this? How do you think this is going to influence the industry?
Well, it is short term. Pricing will going to come down greatly. You have this inventory of whatever it is. It's a lot of inventory to be thrown on the market, and the distributors are going to love it because they're going to get some tremendous bargains. And then the heads and threads, the XLs rather, of the world are going to say, may pass on orders because the price is too low. And when I was in the company, we'd had a policy. Someone says that ABC is selling something for $5, and we've been selling it for $6. I'm making up the numbers, and we may say if you can buy it at $5, go get it, because I'd rather have that customer take those products off the market, and then when people's inventory on that particular size comes back in popularity, we'll then get the price that we want. But right now, if a distributor has the financing, he's going to be able to get some tremendous bargains. And then the question will be who's going to replace all the heads and threads of business, and which I know was over $100 million, maybe $120 million. And I'm not sure that's even the highest number, but when they were a public company, you could get some information from the annual report, but that was a long, long time ago.
Right.
So, but I'm sure some of the other fastening companies are already looking at heads, branch warehouses. Some heads people have already switched companies. They're now, they've left heads and are working for other people. But business, talking to other people in the industry, has improved. Fasteners are always a leading indicator. When things are good, they see it first because the supplier has to put widgets together, so you got to get the bolts enough to put those widgets together. Right. But the biggest problem is going to be in the short term on what the margins are going to be, and until that inventory gets swallowed up. And it's not prices. It's hard to just get over to call up a guy and say, "Here, I want it." Mr. Distributor, I can sell you to $5, and the distributor said, "Gee, that's a great price. I've been paying $8, but my customer business is slow that I was selling to, and I don't need any at $5 because that's short-sighted by the distributor." But sometimes you got to take a chance, especially if it's a popular item. You can't sell it to one customer; you can sell it to maybe 10 others. But over the long term, without heads, I think the price margins will improve once this overhanging inventory is gone.
How long is that going to take to flush out?
It could take, I don't know, maybe the rest of the year. Probably the next 3-4 months is really going to be more noticeable, and heads will run out. That whatever the number is, they're going to start running out of product, and
right.
And the prices will start to creep back up. I've heard that the prices in China have been going up this year, and Taiwan, they're going up this year. I don't know percentages, and it's a small part of me. Sorry to see this go. Of course, someone mentioned monopoly money. I mean, some people, like conglomerates, they buy companies like heads and threads was used by MSL to get rid of a tax loss. People are playing monopoly, but they're using real money, and they have real losses like having. I'm sad to see it happen, but since 1963, when my father left, I've had very little contact with heads and threads. They didn't even offer me to let me try to buy the company back. Ha ha ha. That's right.
Not that you wanted it.
And not that I.
You're retired.
Right. But other things in life, I don't need the aggravation of trying to make heads and threads profitable again.
Right. Wow.
Well, you've been around this business. You have a lot of thoughts. And before we wrap it up, let me give you an opportunity. I know you're the great jokester. In all these years, does any one good fastener joke stick out in your mind that you'd like to share?
I appreciate it. I do love to tell jokes, but this has been your whole initiative of the people you've already talked to. It's been very serious, and I prefer when we have a beer or a martini or something, together, and I'd be happy to tell you some jokes. It's nothing to do with jokes are sexy, not sexy, but I want to keep the interview as professional as I can. But I think you have to have one thing you have to do in life is you have to enjoy life. I have Parkinson's, and it slow me down. Yes, it slows me down, but damn it, I'm not going to let it beat me. And I mean, I make little puns. When I walk with a cane, I tell people my cane makes me able.
Okay.
And when I hold the cane up in the air, that's raising cane. And what do you call a bunch of old men all standing in a line with canes? They're called Canaanites. And that type of stuff. But I have always been very proud of how I treated the employees, and I feel you give an employee respect, and they will give that back to you. If you're always pushing, I know it's the grindstone. That's not going to make for happy employees. I know people in the last 10 years are taking financial cuts just so they can keep a job, but and that's understandable. But I always thought if you have good people, you'd made money with these people in the good times, and I don't want to lose them during the bad times. I'm not talking maybe one or two warehouse guys you may not need anymore, but if you have a good, solid office staff, I would keep them, because I feel that the economy always has turned around, and but you're better off to have good people, because training somebody takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, you've seen a few downturns in business in your time, though, haven't you?
Yes.
And
I'm glad, in a small way, I didn't own XL Screw during, and I have no idea what their profits are, during the last 5 years, because it's been very rough for everybody.
Yeah, for everyone. Right.
Well, Ron, I think we're going to leave it there, and we sure do appreciate you coming on. We're going to hold you to that beer or martini that you mentioned.
Right,
okay.
I think so.
At Wrigley Field, but I am an avid Cub fan.
Who's not?
Okay.
Right.
By the way, being a Cub fan today is like being a modern-day Job. You can just live with failure and disappointment.
Okay, well, you've had that for a while since you're living in Chicago.
Well, welcome to the Fully Threaded family.
Right. I want to wish Eric and Brian very good luck. I think you have a great concept, and I hope you are extremely successful with these interviews.
Well, with ones like yours, we will be.
Well, we sure do appreciate that, Ron. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
More talking and stalking is just ahead on Fully Threaded.
This is Sue Rice with the FCH team. It's my job to make sure that as an FCH member, you receive the highest possible benefit from your participation in the network. Did you know that once you're logged into FCH, you have access to exclusive search tools, site statistics, and tracking information about your inventory and source finder inquiries? It's all just a click away, and I'm happy to walk you through it. If it's time to refresh your inventory, don't worry. We'll run your listings through our scrubber software and get you up and running in a very short time. If you can attach a spreadsheet to an email, you can list inventory on FCH. We can also show you how to optimize your listings to attract the most hits for your type of fastener. Send email to Sue at fastenersclearinghouse.com and let me help you get the most from the FCH sourcing network. I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who've ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
This is Dan Shota at Stay Fast Products, North America's leader in T-nuts and weld nuts. And you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, your two online fastener pantomime stalking horses of the fastener industry, back with you.
I think I'd like to be the head, please.
I'll flip you for it.
Maybe we should just scrub that idea.
Not into the whole pantomime horse thing, huh?
No, not really. Though, we did actually have that in New Zealand in the early days of TV in New Zealand. Of course, it was black and white for us. But I remember Mr. Ed the Talking Horse.
Well, that's actually kind of funny that you mix those together, because the pantomime, of course, makes no sound, and our theme here has been the talking horse and the crossover with the stalking horse, so we've really got a disaster going on right now. It's
right.
Just really kind of not very well thought out.
Okay. That'll be a first for us, okay?
Imagine that. It's fully threaded history. Hey, and speaking of history, there was a lot of history in that conversation with Iran, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is really an interesting man to talk to, and clearly he did a lot of talking, and you had to edit it down to get the times down. But, I went back after his mention of the terrible accident his father was in, and it ties back into our episode from a couple of episodes ago where we were discussing the Boeings. And I was given a book about McDonnell Douglas, DC-8s and 10s.
Right.
And it just so happens that there was sort of a lot of problems with the DC-8s and 10s, and they mention a problem that affected numerous DC-8s, whereby they simply fell out of the sky. Apparently one of the controls, you could accidentally pull it out and it dropped all the lift off the wings. And it happened to 3 planes within a few months, but to, I don't know, they said as nearly as many as 20. So he was really thrust into it in a hurry.
Yeah, that's definitely not the way anybody likes to come into a company. But what a story, and what a legacy.
Yeah, right. I mean, here's one family that's instrumental in starting off 2 of the big names in the industry, XL Screw and Heads and Threads.
Yep. It was great to have him on, and we sure do appreciate that. We'd like to give our thanks to Ron Sackheim, and we'll thank our other guests as well. And they were John Godet of Metric and Multi-Standard, Joe Truckee Jr., congratulations to you on your win out at the Mel Kirsner Memorial.
Not that we didn't think that was possible, okay?
Also, Mike McGuire and Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International magazine. Way to stay focused once again, Mike.
Right.
And we'll also remind everybody, please do let us know what you think, and you can reach us at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com, and you can tune us in on Twitter at the handle Fully Threaded.
You can also pick up our podcasts from fullythreaded.com. As you know, you just click on the button and listen, okay? Or you can subscribe to the podcast and through your iPhone, and you can do so on a BlackBerry too, okay?
It just couldn't be easier.
Of course. Just another service to the fastener industry.
Well, you guys have a little bit of a cruise to make, and I have a feeling that heading down to Branson is going to be well worth your while. You'll have to have somebody take good care of Jack the Fastener dog while you're gone, but I'm sure you've got that all squared away.
That's right. We have got that sorted out.
Now, he's not a talking dog, is he?
Usually only when I'm recording, okay? But not this time.
That's right. I don't think we heard any appearances of Jack the Fastener dog on today's edition of Fully Threaded.
No. I had to keep the door closed so you wouldn't hear this little pitter-patter of feet, okay, running across the floor.
Well, have a safe drive, and we'll look forward to hearing your recordings and talking with you next time.
We will, okay, and I hope we can get some really great recordings, and if I'm really lucky, I'll meet up with the traveling salesman and see if we can get him on the next episode.
Yes, that would be good. Keep your eyes peeled for the Boltmobile.
I will, and surreptitiously hidden bottles of rusty bolt.
Hopefully they're not too hidden.
Just here and there. A trail of them, and we'll know I'm following the traveling salesman.
That's right. And with that, we'll put episode 25 in the can.
Take care, everyone.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
I can't think of anything else to say at the moment, okay?